the backbone of any thriving society is the nuclear family, and if people aren't contributing to that, I think it's problematic for society. So, gay men and lesbian women don't contribute to that, unfortunately. And I don't think gay men should be able to adopt children either. I think that's crazy. I don't think lesbian women should be able to adopt children either. I think kids need to be protected at all costs, and exposing them to sexual degeneracy is a problem. Because that's what homosexuality and lesbianism is. I'm a firm believer that, gays and lesbians need to go back in the closet. We don't need that stuff outwardly.
That is a point of view that you are entitled to. Have a nice day.
Fair enough. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for coming up. Yeah, guys, I know it's scary, but like I said, I'll chat with you guys. You got questions on my worldviews or disagree, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone. Hey, what's up, man? What's your name?
Name's Joshua Williams.
What's up, Josh? How are you?
Decent. How about you?
Good. I like your shirt.
Appreciate it. Wanted to ask you about your main selling point, women deserve less.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit on the first couple chapters of the Bible, Genesis 1 through 5.
Yeah, if you could go through it quick though, because we don't want to do a Bible study here, man. We got to keep it moving. But yeah, go ahead.
I personally believe that that the Bible is the center point of all life because it is God's divine word, and that sure only Jesus. When you focus on Jesus, if you Jesus centered on everything, not necessarily Jesus first, but Jesus centered, everything is going to change. Your whole life is going to change. Your whole ideology is going to change everything. So I want to focus on Jesus' creation, his perfect creation, when he created male and female. When you see all his other creation, he says that he saw that the day and night he saw good. He saw it well. But when he talks about creation, man and female, he says it is very good. He takes it to another level that humankind, his creation of man and woman is much different than the rest of his creation, and that they were created in God's image. So, being that they're both created in God's image, both man and female, how do you say that women deserve less when they're both created in God's image?
Well, when I say that, I mean as in the man needs to be the leader, right? And the Bible obviously talks about this too, right? It goes God, man, then woman. My problem is when I say women deserve less, I mean it's vague on purpose, right? Depending on the context that we're talking about here. But in this regard, when it comes to having a family, being married, etc., it means that the man needs to be the leader, right? Now, I think the problem is that a lot of guys go into relationships thinking that their woman is equal to them and they can split the check and all this other stuff. I'm a big proponent of the nuclear family. I don't think women should work. I think men should be bearing that burden. But the problem is that we have this egalitarian mindset where we're telling men to treat their women as equals, and that's just not how it goes. I'm a big proponent. If you have the authority, if you have the responsibility of taking care of her, you should also have the authority over her to tell her what to do.
Okay.
Because let's be honest here, all the Abrahamic religions know that when you leave a woman to her own devices, they fuck up.
So now, talking about Abrahamic religions, we're going to focus on the Old Testament now. The Old Testament is based on the covenant with Moses and how that the law, the first 5 books of the Bible say that the man is to be the leader, which is
shown, and that's all I'm getting at when I say
which
that.
Which is shown in Romans. Romans says that, and I may be quoting wrong, so forgive me if I am quoting wrong, but the New Testament says that the husband, the man, is supposed to love his family and his wife the same way that Jesus loved the church.
Yes, but see, we're kind of at the finish line right now. Before we get to that point, you need to identify the women that are even worthy of being a wife. And because I like what you're saying here, right? Like, again, I believe in a nuclear family, and I think that as a man, it's your job to protect, provide, and provision. But the problem is that most women simply don't deserve that nowadays, right? A lot of girls are promiscuous, bad habits, don't respect male authority, but they want you to wife them up. And I'm telling guys, don't do that. You got to vet women out in the beginning very hard, because thanks to modernity and feminism, what's happened basically is like all the training wheels that society had to keep things in place and keep things in check are gone. We used to have Christianity, we used to have shame, we used to have the church, we used to have strong knit communities, but now that's all out the wayside. So since we have removed these social training wheels, what's ended up happening is we have this deregulated sexual marketplace where a lot of women are just not worthy of being a wife. And I want guys to focus on, like, when you do identify the woman that's worthy of being your wife, then obviously you give her the world. I'm not saying not to give her everything, but she has to earn that. And that's the problem, is that we just think that girls should get things for having a vagina. And I'm here to say, like, no.
And I would say, to not necessarily add on, but just add on to my point, I say with women that may be deemed as not wife material, I personally feel that that's when you get down on your knees, you pray, and you say, Jesus, help these people.
Yeah, you can pray for them.
It's just the same way that when Jesus died on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, look, you could pray for them, but my thing is, let's be honest here, man. Jesus can't even save a lot of these hoes. What makes you think you're going to do it? So, that's the reality.
I just feel like I never want to lose hope on humanity, because once you lose hope in humanity, that's when things start going.
Pray for them, but what I'm saying is you don't have to invite that to your house to destroy your household. Pray for her, but like, don't let her. One of the worst things a man can do, and this is going to be taboo, but I'm going to say it. One of the worst things you can do is wife up a whore. So, because wiping up promiscuous women will absolutely destroy your life as a man. So my thing is, you could pray for them. Obviously, you wish well upon them, but that doesn't mean you need to invite her into your life where she's in a position where she could utterly destroy you. Especially with the way the family courts are run and the way that child custody works and alimony and everything else like that. Like, guys have to be very cautious and careful with who they marry. They need to reserve it for the women that are worthy. Because, unfortunately, it's not 1955, it's 2025, and women have changed a lot. A lot. For the worse.
I think that just comes back to, once you have your family, once you have the wife that God has set aside for you, that's when you lay down the law and you say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
I agree. But you gotta find a woman that's really taking that journey with you. What I'm saying is most don't qualify.
And then that's when I feel like you fall into that cycle that you pray. Like,
yeah.
You don't necessarily agree with what they're doing. You may not. Your soul, your flesh, you might not. You might not feel like that they deserve prayer.